president of Claflin University, actually in the same state, South Carolina. But I've been working with this young man. He was the youngest president in the country, college president in the country, Dr. Dwaun Warmack. And I've just watched him work. I've watched him, he was the president at another college, turned that college completely around. And now he's at Claflin University, which is the Ivy League, an Ivy League kind of HBCU. They look for high performing students. Dr. Warmack, are you on?
Dr. Price, good morning. Good morning. How's it going today?
Good morning. It's going great. You look great.
Well, listen, I'm trying to fake it till I make it. I figured I had my California peeps on this call. I need to look good for the California folks. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
Yes, so you have the counselors that are on from Centinela Valley Union High School District. They have 4 high schools, amazing high schools. Actually, one of our products is an assistant director of admission from Lusinger High School, who's at Grambling right now, who's going to be on later today. So please share. You know how I feel about you when I saw you at the White House deal. This gentleman is a leader. He's won several awards. He's on the Forbes top, whatever. He's amazing president. So
Thank you, Dr. Price. And Dr. Price is one of the few people in the country that can call me the day before and I adjust my schedule to be on a counselor's call. So that speaks volumes to her commitment to this work. And so I think, and also to how much I believe in the work that happens with the National College Resource Foundation and the Black College Expo, what goes on with those 2 entities. Thank you for allowing me to be here again. So I'm a trained professor as a sociologist, but I am also looking, I can see 4 folks on my screen. I see we got a lot more people here. You know, I like to connect. COVID made me very nervous.
They're open. You want to see faces.
I want to see some faces. I need a vibe. I need the whole vibe. I need the vibe, folks. So if I can see the faces, that'll help me rock on and rock out for a second. I won't be before you long. Again, I think you will have a lot more smarter people than me that will be coming to join you. But I think I just want to give a brief, quick.
Thank you, you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. A quick overview of just HBCUs in general, right? I'm making just a raw assumption. You all may be experts in this space, so excuse me for being repetitive by some of the things that I may say. And for some folks who may not have, because I'm clear there's no undergraduate HBCUs on the West Coast, right? You know, and so I think part of that is serving as an educational opportunity. And so I will share that. So just briefly about HBCUs as a whole. Right. And again, I'll talk about us because none of us are monolithic by no stretch. We are all different, very similar as the California schools, right? You know, you have the state system, you have all of them are different within this space. And so it's the exact same thing for HBCUs. So HBCUs make up 3% of the colleges and universities in the United States of America. But we also represent 12% of all African-American students that attend colleges and universities. But here's what gets interesting from a business model. We produce 23% of African-American graduates. And I'm only going to speak African-American right now, and I'll talk about the other diverse populations after that. But I think it's imperative that if the story is not told accurately, we have this misperception of what it means. So 3% of colleges and universities, HBCUs make up in the United States, 12% of African-American students. We produce 23% of the African-American graduates, but only producing 12% of African-American students. 40% of all STEM graduates, African-American, come from HBCUs. 60% of all engineers, folks get engineering degrees, are own African-American or through HBCUs. 50% of African-American teachers and 40% of African-American professionals have been educated at HBCUs. Here's the interesting piece. 70% of African-American dentists and physicians earned their degrees at HBCUs. 58% of HBCUs offer the opportunity for their students to study abroad at a very discounted or free rate. And then last but not least, 50% of professors at non-HBCUs are HBCU graduates. 50% of professors that are at non-HBCUs are HBCU graduates. 50% of the lawyers in this country are HBCU graduates and of African-American lawyers, and 80% of judges. And so I just share those mere numbers of success, going back to 3% of college universities, but have that type of success rate. And so I tell this to any business, like, hey, if I can get that type of ROI, I want that all day, and so if I can get that type of success rate and showing, and this is sustained over years, right? This is longitudinal data that we're looking at. And so I think, again, so when often folks say the questions about HBCUs, why? I ask, why not? If I know that I'm going to get that, the question is, why not at HBCUs? Because if you extrapolate the data of any other institution, and they'll show their 4-year, 6-year graduation rates, right? And it could sound good, and retention rates, but then extrapolate minority from there, and then extrapolate each of the subpopulations within African American, all of the other pieces, then you'll see the real data, right? But when they predict major data slice, because with minority population being such a small population at their institutions, it's skewed when they present the overall number. So I just say, look at it. And I say that this is I know I look 19. This is my 23rd year in higher education. And I've worked 13 years at non-HBCUs. And no, 12 years at non-HBCUs and 11 years at HBCUs. So I have this different level of credibility because I've been at highly selective PWIs. I've been at highly selective liberal arts, PWIs top 10 in the country, and now serving at HBCUs. I served as the president of a public HBCU that was an open enrollment, and now at one of the top 10 HBCUs in the country that is more highly selective. So I've been a chance to see run the gamut. So within that same vein, I would like to talk briefly about Claflin University. As Claflin University is one of the top 10 HBCUs in the country, have been for 15 consecutive years, as high as number 7, as low as number 9, and which we want to continue to be in that top ranking. And part of our mean GPA of our incoming students is typically, well, let me just say right now, because I just finished meeting with the enrollment staff, we had about 12,000 applications this year, and we'll accept a class about 650 to 670, so very highly selective. Our mean GPA is a 3.63. Our test scores hovering roughly around a 1210. So let me say, the mean right now is around 1150, 1200. But don't let that scare you, right? Because we also, too, we have, I call this thing presidential discretionary admission. And when I think to students that are like me, because I would have never got into this school. I wasn't that smart. I wasn't that intelligent. I wasn't that focused at 16, 17, 18. And so we make sure we have the opportunity to receive students that are like a Dwaun, Warmack. And so to have them opportunity to be able to come in. We've had the largest alumni giving, not just amongst HBCUs, but top in the country. We have about a 41% alumni giving rate, which compares to anyone in the nation. There's not too many schools in the country that outside of Ivy League schools that have that, but that's a testament of their experience. They graduated from the institution and what the institution meant for them, that they feel they want to give back to our institution. We are also too, sort of points of pride, my conversation often is our goal is not to be the best HBCU. Our goal is to be one of the best regional institutions in the country that just happens to be an HBCU. We were founded in 1869 before diversity and inclusion became cool, and our mission has not changed. We were accepting students regardless to race, class, gender, religion in 1869. You can't show me many, I can count on one hand how many schools in the nation that was able to do that. And we haven't wavered from our mission. And that's why diversity and inclusion has been at the forefront of what we do. Students come here, they graduate. We have our retention rate is roughly about 79%. Graduation rate in a 6-year cohort is roughly around 62%, which is national average, as we know, about 41, 42%. So we remain focused on that. We are a small community. We don't want to be large. Again, with close to 12,000 applications, I could have accepted 8. I could have allowed 3,000 to come, but that's not what I was looking for. We are clear about our niche and who can come here, because we don't just recruit you. We want to recruit you, graduate you, get you gainfully employed. We have so many students on the 3-year graduation track. I think I had in this past commencement 47 that finished in 3 years, and degree programs like computer science and things I could never fathom, right? And they're going on to top Ivy League schools. I think I have 16 that went to Ivy League schools on full rides this year that graduated from our different degree programs. Almost every program we have is nationally accredited, so not just our regional accrediting body, but we have the computer science and computer engineering, ABET accredited, one of the top accredited pieces that is there. School of Business, definitely accredited by the School of Business. Education is CAPE accredited. So we make sure our programs are accredited to ensure that our graduates are able to be strategically placed and to be gainfully employed. So amazing institution doing transformational work. And we're located, and again, it's about fit. For me, it's all about institutional fit, because we're in a rural community, right? And so sometimes kids from urban communities, it's a culture shock, you know, coming to a rural community. And for us, we don't recruit. It costs too much money for me to recruit a student. So we want to recruit the right students so they can come here and be successful. And again, we focus on we believe in a holistic development of student. That's academically, that's personally, that's socially. And for us, our Christian values is spiritually. And whatever that spirituality is for you, whether it's Christianity, non-Christianity, whatever your faith is, we make sure that you infuse that faith into the work that you do. So that's the development, holistic development of the student. We are highly respected. You know, we think Mackenzie Scott just made an announcement just maybe last week, in California schools, really been a lot of California nonprofits benefited from the significant investment from Mackenzie Scott, which is Mike Bezos' wife, former wife, and invested just her big round of, I think it was 2-point-something billion she just put out again. And I saw California benefited very significantly in that area. We were fortunate to also be one of the recipients in her last round of a $20 million investment gift to us as well. And so we have a great partnership. We were the first institution of higher education to partner with Zoom. So we were the first official Zoom campus out of Silicon Valley. Zoom COO, Aparna, serves on our board of trustees here. Zoom CEO and I have numerous conversations about strategy and putting our students, our computer science students' place that is there. So we have strong partnerships on the West Coast in regards to job placement and getting students connected in that space. I can go on like a Baptist preacher for the next 2 hours talking about this amazing institution, but less about that. I want to open up the floor to questions, so you all can ask me any questions that you may have, whether it's about Claflin or HBCUs in general, and again, or higher education as a whole. This is the only thing. My mom passed away 5 years ago, and I remember her saying to me, "Are you gonna ever get a real job? You went to college and never left." And so this is the only thing I've ever done. So this is the only work that I know. And so if I can, answer any questions, do not hesitate to ask them. And I'm excited to be here with you all today. Questions?
Hello, this is Michelle Servana. Dr. Price, I just want to let you know I've used your resource ever since I discovered it. It's been very helpful. It's exciting to meet you today. So I had a question about our talented students. How do they send their talent in to you? Videos? How do you find out about whether or not you can recruit them for whether dancers or music or any type of talent they have?
Okay, so you talent like arts talent. Is that what you're referring to?
Or yeah, Dr. Price was saying, mentioned earlier that they can get recruited for the HBCUs with talent.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, it all depends on the talent, right? I think every department has their own entity. So if you're saying, hey, I'm interested in the gospel choir, right? That's going to be a total separate group that we send it to versus you're interested in modern dance, okay? And so I think we have our arts and science department that have these different areas within there. So if I'm interested in, so very specifically, if you can tell me like, oh, band, right? You send it to the band director. If you're interested in, but part of that is identified on their admissions application. So when they submit their admissions application, they identify like, hey, I'm interested in X, Y, Z extracurricular activities. And then at that point, it's funneled to those respective areas to be able to do that. And then again, for scholarship and just anything is like that, it's talent-based, right? And who has the best talent to fulfill the spots that any one of those areas could have. We have a world-renowned concert chorale, right? Our concert chorale, first place I've ever been where we're given 100% full scholarships to the concert chorale, but we also the same place that, the NFL asks us to come sing at halftime, or we travel all over. It was at the Super Bowl to perform a few years back. So I think it's the type of talent that comes from all over the world that comes into our concert chorale. So I think it varies from whichever unit that you're looking for, and you put on a admissions application, extracurricular activity they're interested in, and then they'll funnel it over for them to be able to contact.
Does the department reach out to them? Or
yeah, let me say this too. I think this will help. So the great thing about us being partners with you, throughout the year, we can funnel the applications. That's not a problem. We can also bring in Dr. Warmack's admissions team, and then from there, we can make sure it gets to whatever department. So if you call Michelle and you said, hey, I have this student that wants to go, say it's not Black College Expo or Latino College Expo, or, you know, you just said, I have a student now that wants to fill out, I'm looking for a college for her, and I remember Claflin, then we would just get the application for you to fill out, get it to you, whether it's through a link, and you would send that in, you'll let us know you sent it in. Then we'll follow up with the admissions person, whoever that person, probably Saladin or Lorette, which is one of their admissions counselors that covers California. And then she would basically make sure the student, they met the requirements, they got in, whatever opportunities for scholarships, and then really talk to them about what they like doing. So if they are interested in the band, if they're a student athlete, at that point, student athletes, you know how it is, the coach got to say, okay, there's a space, we want that position for that, but it's an opportunity. So they could possibly get on the team. They might have to try out. Maybe it's something that we did with I know they have basketball, so maybe with the basketball team or track and field or whatever. So we would help you funnel that through. They wouldn't be out there on their own. You know what I mean? To make sure. That's the beautiful about this conversation too, is we're partnering with Claflin and, you know, the HBCUs and colleges, but we also make sure that we don't want the students to fall between the cracks. So we'll help make sure they get accepted.
So does the admissions precede the talent, or can the talent, you know, bring on the admissions to your school, you know, for example?
No, the talent person with the talent can reach out directly to the band director, yes, if they want to do that, not a problem. All we're saying is once they fill out the application, if they say, you know, I want to get to your team, we'll make sure they get to the cheer director. You see what I'm saying? So
is that a video? Is there like a Zoom tryout sometimes, since you guys?
Yeah, that can happen. I've seen that with band a lot. Yes, I actually did for one of the schools where the gentleman did a band. Most band directors, they kind of know the quality of the student too, because they know the school usually. So I'm just saying, we can make sure that it happens. They get the opportunity to be in that talent space, whatever it is. We can make sure the opportunity is there.
So Michelle, I want to be very transparent. I think, again, as I stated earlier, none of us are monolithic in this space. So every institution is different, right? So very similar if you're looking at UC Berkeley, Cal State, this, that, everyone's process may be different, right? You know, so I don't want you to walk away from here like every HBCU send a video to them and they get it. That's not how it works, right? And some are much better than others, right? Some people are, you know, bands are a lot more competitive than other bands. You know, you have some that are Division I athletics, some are Division II, some are NEIA. And so I think it's, again, if there's a talent, like if you have a student that has a talent that says, hey, I'm gifted in, you know, orchestra, right? And again, the students do their homework, right? And so you'll see, hey, this orchestra is really highly sought after. I want to send this to the director. Student has the autonomy to do that, right? You know, again, so it doesn't supersede the application process, right? That may be part of the student's decision if the chorale person reaches out to them. But the formal process is applying through admissions, and if you have a partner with Teresa Price and what they do over there. Because again, if it's not through the application funnel, the student can never be a student there, and then they're lost in the mix because they've gone this other way and not being able to be processed. And so just about to be an efficiency is making sure they go through that initial process so they can be in the funnel to be able to be successful.
The question I have is, you mentioned 3-year graduation rates. Is it because you have accelerated programs maybe for people who are going to med school or law or pharmacy, those 3 years?
No, I mean, we have a 3-year track that students come in on and be focused on. I mean, they have to be a very serious student that's focused on the 3-year track. I wasn't that student by no stretch, right? So if I know I got to take 21 hours coming in each semester and I can't turn up a little bit, then that I wouldn't have signed up for it, you know? And so, but I think these students are serious. They come in with a lot of AP courses. They come in with a lot of college courses that are coming in. And so like we have a young lady, she wasn't going to medical school. I used her in my speech, Michaela Brown. Michaela Brown came in and finished 3.5 years, 19, just turned 20 years old, finished in 3 years. And she wanted to go to graduate school at University of South Carolina. I was going to say USC. I don't want to confuse you guys, but University of South Carolina here. And she wanted to go into the social work program. So none of our 3+2s or none of our 3+3s law school or medical school, she wanted to do social work. So I went and had a conversation with the president of USC, and we talked about a blanket partnership that allows students to be able to come in to be able to take advantage of that. So when they saw her credentials and finished in 3 years with a 3.97 with our rigorous curriculum, they gave her a full ride to go through the social work program. And now they've extended it. So she'll start her first year, once she'll be successful in this master's of social work, they want to put her in a PhD program immediately in the social work program. So I just think it's the caliber of student that comes here that's serious about the academic performance. And now we have some, so yeah, that would be cheating the data because it wouldn't count as the 3-year graduate if I used our medical school partnership with the Medical University of South Carolina. We got a 3+3 and a 3+4. Well, again, that number wouldn't still show up after 7 years, right? Because they'll finish with us in 3, but you don't reverse transfer that number back until after they finish their 4th year in the curriculum. So it never counts as a 3-year graduate. These are students that come and finish in 3 years from the academic curriculum. Hope that makes sense.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's the whole holistic, again, that's why I was saying given the opportunity, they'll be given an opportunity, but everything should always go through admission.
Mhm.
Unless there's a coach, like a coach
Right.
looking at a player, that would be different. You know,
Exactly.
what I mean? Coach looked at a player and they're like, I want them, then the coach is recruiting them. And at that point, here, make sure you go fill out
Go
that.
to admissions, right? And they're good coaches are going to recruit them. That's what's going to happen. The coach is going to reach out and get the conversations and send the information back to them. So that's how that process will work. Yeah. Other questions? Other questions? Anything?
Sure, I have one.
Hi.
Yes, sir.
Oh, go ahead.
All right. I got it for both of you all.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I
Ladies
have a
first.
question. Okay, thank you so much, Ronnie. I have a question. I have many of my students from California who are interested in the HBCUs, but the one big question, going so far away from home, they're afraid of being lonely. Do you have some type of mentorship program or a California dorm that they could be placed with someone to meet those needs of being so far away from home?
Right. No, actually, currently right now here we don't. When I was using my past institution, when I was president of Harrisville State University, we had a huge West Coast connection, right? We called it our West Coast Student Association. And then they were very connected and we were in an urban city as well. And so that made a world of a difference. But I think here, honestly, the way our culture is at this institution, it's already infused, right? You know, it's like everyone comes here, feels a part of, you ask any student. So I just got the most moving email from our international students that were from Jamaica. And they're now, it was 6 of them. It's called, they may have it in California. It's a backpack to college or passport to college. It was something, it's an organization for international students that are coming from all over, passport to college. So these kids were Claflin graduates before I arrived. Like they graduated in 17 and 18, and now one is finishing their PhD in molecular biology at Notre Dame. The other one's finishing a PhD in computer science at UGA, and the other 4 were in medical school, in their last year's medical school. And they said to me, they don't have money at this point, right? But they wanted to do something back for Claflin because of what Claflin meant for them. Coming from Jamaica, having no family, but they just remember on holidays how people would bring them to the, making sure Thanksgiving meal was prepared for them. They made sure so they never felt like they were isolated and apart. And during holidays that we have this international or out-of-state student apartment complex where they're able to stay and still be serviced and things like that. So it's all infused into our work of making sure every student that comes in is comfortable and it feels that they are part of the Claflin family. And so, I again, from that email from those international students who are removed, said because of the experience that they received, they wanted to be able to do something to make sure that students that come after them have that. So I think it's intentionally infused into our work. We are very ritualistic, if I may say that. It's like, so I was floored when I arrived. I'm like, every 2 weeks is some sort of formal ceremony, right? It was like, but what it does is create this culture of a community where everyone feels a part of it, right? And so it's, and again, the thing is, students are just the peer accountability, how unified they are, how together they are, and help each other through and through the process. Again, so often at some institutions you'll hear, look to your left, look to your right, at orientation, someone won't be here. I was just totally different, right? And we like, look to your right, look to your left. I am my brother's, I am my sister's keeper. If I'm successful, they're successful. I lift as I climb. So it's about accountability to support their brothers and sisters to the left and to the right to see them to and through the finish line. Hence, we have a 79% retention rate, very high graduation rate, because they believe in supporting each other in the words of affirmation, speaking truth to power, and believing in the work and being unified in that space. We don't recruit you for you not to be successful. We recruit you to be successful.
I just want to say that I mentioned that 500,000 students that we've helped, and in the 22 years, the stuff that I've heard, the letters that we've received, to even students from California that when they first got there was like, oh, I want to come home, I want to come home. And then they come home and they're like, I want to go back, I want to go back.
Mhm.
I'm just telling you, I would say 99.9% of every student that we work with said it was the best decision they ever made in their entire life. So it just teaches so many things, and going away. You know, I had a student right now that just graduated. Her mother said she could not have paid for what her student, who was originally going to Loyola Marymount, but chose another HBCU, and her experience, just no comparison. And it's the fact of the network they create. And I know Mr. Ruffin, when he comes on, he'll share that because he was one of the products of California from your district. And so he could talk about that just personally. And guess what? He never came back home. So, you know, hands down, just the experience. I think it's just the feeling that you get. I call it Southern hospitality. If anybody can witness, I even say that when I'm in Italy. I feel like it's the same thing. Italy, Italians kind of give you the same thing. It's a Southern hospitality that you get at a HBCU. I don't care what you look like. And that in itself, what? Love wins, right? So whenever you feel comforted and you know people care about you and they're there to support you, you just thrive. You fly like a butter, you know, you fly like an eagle.
And I think all of our HBCUs, again, it's something I wish I can say. I'm not an HBCU graduate, right? But my life work is at HBCUs. I've chose to do that. And not because I had to, because I wanted to. And because it's this intangible. I cannot explain it. When you step on a campus, it is just like, what is that? Is it Fried Chicken Wednesday? Is it, you know, I don't know. I mean, it's something about the experience that moves you in a way that is like, and I tell students, again, go visit. I see my sister president on here. Go visit Russ. Go visit Benedict. Go visit. I mean, all of us. You find where is that place for you? There's enough for all of us to go around finding that niche, and you will know, right? You will know when you step on that campus. This is it. This is the place for me, and you walk away with that experience. And again, it's not a competition. There's enough for us all to find. You know, you talked about. You just had Benedict on, which is right down the street, one of our sister institutions. And, you know, the young lady was talking, her boss, her supervisor is a guy named Dr. Manuel Lalonde, who's one of my sons. I've trained him. He's worked for me for many years. And most folks in enrollment in the HBCU space, 9 times out of 10, I've had some sort of touch, because as a president, I came out of the enrollment management space. So most of them, I've had some sort of. And again, if they don't work, I send them to them. And then I think there's a reality is we believe in nurturing our kids when they come to our institutions for them to be successful, because it's not a numbers game for us. It's a people thing for us, and helping those students be successful. So I think we had another question. I know I have to get off, but I know, but I'm sorry.
Yeah, I had a question. I come across a lot of students and parents nowadays. They're more concerned with the graduating with huge amounts of loans, and with the attention that is gotten nationally with loan to debt. So on average at your school or in general, like especially when students go out of state, there's sometimes that additional cost. So what are the students graduating with? Like what's the average loan the students are graduating from your school?
Right. So my numbers are going to be sort of the number is going to be sort of deceiving, right? So and as a president, it's going to sound good, right? So I'm going to say, hey, roughly our students graduate debt with about $23,000, right? But what our tuition is $26,000, okay, a year. And so we only graduated with $20,000 debt, which is phenomenal, right? Yeah. But again, if I extrapolate that, we have been very South Carolina heavy, so we're about 80% of our kids have come from the state of South Carolina, and the other half have come through our typical honors college, where honors college, they were funded very generously, right? So they were walking away with, zero debt. And then South Carolina has this very unique piece for in-state students I've seen in no other state. You can go to a private institution and use state lottery money to be able to go. So they can get the Hope Scholarship, they can get the Life Scholarship. So that's another $9,000 for in-state students that they get on top of Pell and things like that. So they can conceptually come here automatically per year with about $18,000 to $19,000 if they're a high achieving academic student. That's what we go after, right? So it makes sense to be able to do that. So I shouldn't tell you my formula because I could have just said, I look like a rocket scientist, right? But the reality is how we've recruited and who we've been able to recruit. So, but if I look at out of state, that number probably because we haven't extrapolated out of state students because that hadn't been a targeted group for us. But if I look at that's probably a little higher. But I think that's where strategic partnerships come in. So everywhere I've been with Dr. Price, I would say, hey, I have this West Coast scholarship for students that come through your program. I'm going to give them $5,000 off the top because they're through your program and I believe in them, on top of whatever incentives that may happen there as well. And so just like right now, right? So because you came through Dr. Teresa Price, I'm going to say if you have a high achieving student with a 3-point, I'm going to really push it today. Now my mission folks is on here, they're going to be very upset because I've messed up.
And this could happen right now for the students that you have that just are leaving this month. Go ahead.
Right, if you graduate, this for right now, right? I would say if they're high achieving, they're ready, they have a 3.2 or better, and a 21. And they're gonna kill me with this, right? ACT, you know, I'm giving them all from this conversation a $7,000 scholarship on top of everything else we offer, just for participating in this program today. And so, and maybe I'll do a little more than that. I would do 10,000 actually for them. Dr. Price, for you,
Look,
10,000 today. So,
look at Daniel.
but they have to be referred back to you in this program, and they're coming from there for it to happen. And so if they can go through you, you send me the list. Again, that's for this fall, upcoming fall, right? So if you have some good students that are looking, and again, we have 12,000 applicants, but I believe in the work, Dr. Price, I believe in the West Coast students that we've there. Some of my best students, Aaron Baptiste, I'll use Aaron Baptiste, I met at the Black College Expo and I was president somewhere else. Aaron is like one of my sons, right? Aaron, the same thing. First week, he hated. He wanted to go back to California. I sent him back, right? He went back. Aaron called the fox. So Dr. Price's story is like verbatim. He said, oh, actually, I want to come back. I said, no, you're not coming back. You know, you wanted to go home. So I let him come back in January. Aaron still finished. He was through the community college. He transferred through the community college. Aaron finished in a year and a half and I sent him to Ole Miss. He did his master's at Ole Miss and knocked his master's out. And now he's entering a PhD program, fully paid for. Again, just the grit, the dedication of the students come from, and I can go numerous other students from the West Coast. So
and you know what? That's what I love about Dr. Warmack is that he will meet the student. It's really open door policy. I know Thanksgiving, a lot of students didn't have anywhere to go, and I know he had to at his house for Thanksgiving. So those kind of things, that's what's so unique and special about our.
That's what out-of-state students, what my wife and I would do. I understand. I'm from Detroit, and I went to college in Mississippi. I was the poorest of the poor. I caught a Greyhound bus with a duffel bag and had $25. You know, I've never been below the Mason-Dixie line, so I had no family south at all. And so, but there was folks who nurtured me, and I remember eating Thanksgiving dinner at Kroger's. I remember, and I said a student would never have to experience that, right? And I was an athlete, and I couldn't go home, and my parents didn't have the resources. We were in basketball season during Christmas, so I get 2 days off. I can't catch a Greyhound in Detroit, and there was no way I could be able to make it. So my wife, every year, my wife and I, for Thanksgiving, we host international out-of-state students at our house, no matter what that number is. So they have a place to have Thanksgiving. But it's grown so much where it's become this sort of competition. They were like, oh, he had more from California than he did from Chicago. He had more from Chicago than he did from DC. And then again, they don't want to leave. I have a 9-year-old daughter who thinks those are her buddies. And so again, we end up having everybody on the floor sleeping, and you know, it's one of those things. But it's something we know that's important. You don't just come to our schools for education. It's a whole nurturing experience for you to be able to be successful. I understand what it means to be away from home and not have that family piece that's there, especially during holidays. So it's important. Again,